Another thing that didn't appear in the film was that what I was doing as a journalist, in a sense, was I was saying that they were manipulating this or that, and I would say they. I didn't name any particular firm. So what would happen, I always documented myself. I had tapes on everything. Every manipulation they did, I had backed up. And I gave 2 tranches of the tapes to 2 separate law firms for safekeeping. And somehow they found out about it. And they went after the law firms and they threatened to throw the lawyers in prison if they didn't turn over those tapes. And so then you have, unbelievably, the court-appointed receiver becomes a board member of Goldman Sachs. But he doesn't resign working for the court at the same time. I mean, how does this even happen? I mean, Goldman Sachs was our adversary. So now Princeton Economics is being run from Goldman Sachs' board. I mean, this is crazy. And shouldn't happen in any real legal system. But if they took these tapes, which were supposedly all destroyed in the World Trade Center, they would have exposed, and I stood up in court, and the transcripts are part of the public record. I told the judge, I said, this has got nothing to do with this case. It may show criminal activity on the part of all the major banks in the city. I said, but it's got nothing to do with Japan. And he said, that's all right. It might lead to assets or something, and orders them all the lawyers had to turn them over. Back then, in 99, they were saying that, oh, this is absurd. Banks don't manipulate anything. Well, today they've been fined for just about everything under the sun. Yes, I disagreed with them. And you have to understand that people are they often judge others by themselves. So it wasn't that I was advising the club. I think in the film, he shows Barclay Leib when he was going to work for us. He went to check us out with Goldman Sachs. And they said, yeah, we always thought we could crush him, but he usually wins. I mean, I went up against these guys in trading when they would try to manipulate things. Sometimes I took them on by myself, and I usually did win. They was largely led by all of them. I mean, the major trading banks. It would be Goldman was probably the biggest leader. J.P. Morgan, Republic was involved. They were the main ones. Not the custodian banks like Bank of New York or something. They didn't really get involved in the trading side. You can pretty much look at all the ones that were involved in proprietary trading. And the European ones that started to copy New York, oh, that's the way to make money, then they got in trouble. But largely they wanted the perfect trade. And they paid bribes, they did everything to manipulate it. And largely, I think, Edmund Saffer rented the entire National Gallery, the Art Gallery in Washington, D.C., which is a huge building, and put on a party for the IMF. And I was invited down, and every politician was there. And it was largely to show me that they had the IMF in their pocket. And they kept saying, look, come on, why don't you join us for once? Because they viewed us as their main competitor. When I testified before Congress in 96, we had a little over $3 trillion under contract that we were advising in the corporate world. U.S. national debt was $6 trillion at the time. So nobody even remotely came close to us. And so they felt that we had enough influence that we could stop them anytime. But that wasn't really it. It was more, if they were going to attack something, I would have to warn clients, hey, be careful, they're going to do this or that. I mean, that was my job. There were some non-bankers involved. There were like some hedge funds and things of this nature. And I mean, they have played all sorts of games. I believe what you will find is they wanted to sell the mortgage-backed securities. To make them AAA, they needed a guarantee. And that's what they were trying to get AIG to do. And Hank Greenberg at the time, he shut it down. He said, no, I don't want to be involved. Curiously enough, then all of a sudden, Elliott Spitzer goes after AIG, and what's the remedy? Hank Greenberg has to resign. As soon as he resigns, what happens? Goldman Sachs basically sold the way to do this, and AIG starts guaranteeing all this nonsense. So now they can sell it. And so somebody gave, in my opinion, Spitzer information. I don't think he knew what he was being manipulated to, because after that he felt that I took down AIG, and he started looking at Wall Street. All of a sudden, he miraculously shows up with a prostitute, and then has to resign. So they use people. No, there were some hedge funds that were involved, playing along with it, but it was largely a few hedge funds, not all of them, just a few that were involved. And we had one guy that came to us to work, Bob Howe, who unfortunately died, but I was a little skeptical. He was working for a major hedge fund in New York. I met with him, and I said, why do you want to come work for our firm? And he was told that he was an analyst for one of the firms in New York, and he said if he didn't bring in guaranteed trades, he wouldn't progress, period. And he said, look, I don't want to be involved in that stuff. He says, you guys run a clean firm. That's why I want to join you. So there was just a lot of people in the industry that it. It's not out talking about it in the press. A lot of times I may appear to be the only one saying certain things. And that's largely because anybody working on a dealing desk in a bank has to sign a confidentiality agreement. Nobody from the club has contacted me personally since I've been out. They know my feelings, and they know I know what they did, so I think it's just basically we stay on the opposite side of a table.